Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Temple of the Bard. Bard here speaking. This is going to be my deep dive review into Batman Catwoman #1. Just a little bit of word about my deep dive reviews is they're not just a general summary, but an actual analysis of how and why the book either succeeds or fails. And as such, it will be containing some spoilers. I'll try and give you guys a heads up when the actual spoiler portion of the video happens. So the structure of my review is thus. I will give my first impressions that I had after I read the book the first time. I'll then, after having put the book down for a little bit just to clear the palate, pick it back up, read it for a second time, and that's when I will give the actual analysis of the book. So, overall take of Batman Catwoman #1 is not good. So, this comic book is so schizophrenic that it is itself a Batman villain and should be dragged to Arkham by the man himself in bat cuffs. It's awful. It makes no sense. It's confusing. It has very poor flow, and transitions are very, very, very chunky. My first impression after reading this book, I literally put the book down and literally thought to myself, what the hell did I just read? It makes no sense. So, that said, let's move on to the actual analysis, and this is where the spoilers will be happening. So, book starts off with a different timeline. So we have old lady Selina here, so there's a future timeline. We have this woman here who is revealed to be Andrea Beaumont, the character introduced in Mask of the Phantasm. To my knowledge, this is the first time that she's actually in comic book continuity outside of the Timverse. So the animated series, Batman Beyond, Mask of the Phantasm, so on and so forth, and the correlating comic books. So this is, again, to my knowledge, that she is actually making an appearance. I think there is maybe some Easter egg references in like a video game in some of the comics, but this is the first time she's actually being used as a proper character. Well, proper quotation marks. So that's contemporary timeline #1. We then go to contemporary timeline #2. This is an example of one of those poor transitions that I was talking about. So the only clue we have outside of a different color scheme, which could just be a different scene, is the difference in Catwoman's costume. And here we have a version of the Timverse, the animated series' Catwoman's costume, which I really like. I think it's a cool costume. And just generally speaking, the art in this book is stellar. It's absolutely beautiful art. DC is pretty good when it comes to their Batman art. It's almost always on point and absolutely stunning. And I do like the design of the costumes. I think it's really, really cool. But here we have your general 2000s costume. Okay, what happened? We find out later that it's actually a second contemporary timeline. So here we have, again, the old Selina Kyle here with another older gentleman. Here's back to the first contemporary timeline, and then a transition to second contemporary timeline where there's a bit with Joker. These are here just so I know where the ads are. Again, so only having a slight difference in costume. Now, the problem here is that the transition of the two contemporary timelines makes no sense. So here we have a scene from the contemporary #2 timeline. And we have here Joker talking to Catwoman. Oh, darling, you're a villain and you're stooping the bat. So a reference to their current relationship. All of his rogues gallery knows that they're in a relationship, and it's kind of common knowledge. So that is, again, a contemporary timeline. And if we go back to the beginning, we have another clue here. Andrea referencing Alfred. Andrea, I'm sorry to tell you, Alfred has passed. So this is after City of Bane. So both of these scenarios, are they happening simultaneously? Are they years apart? Are they weeks apart? Does Catwoman just go from one suit to another per week? I don't know. and again, another example of a poor transition. So if you'll remember in the movie Mask of the Phantasm, Alfred walks in on Bruce and Andrea making out a couple of times, and now we have them, and that's Catwoman. That's absolutely Catwoman. And so, which is happening here? Which transition is this? And so it's just confusing, and it makes no sense, and it's off-putting to read. So not only does the different references make no sense. So again, it raises the question: is it one timeline, and these are just different aspects on one timeline? Like this is like, oh, this is, for lack of a better word, this is like 2017, and this is 2020, and this is 2060, whatever. Or are they different dimensions? Is this a multiverse situation when this is happening in one verse, this is happening in another verse, and we don't know? It's confusing. So it was not fun to read that, because it just makes no damn sense. And now another problem here is now they're playing fast and loose. He, I should say, is playing fast and loose with continuity. So their investigation takes them to, I'll get into that in a second. Their investigation takes them to the Sewer King. And here we have a little diatribe from the Sewer King, speaking specifically to Selina Kyle. What were you when I found you? Lost, starving, dying. Who protected you from the city, from the filth? Who taught you a trade, how to live? Well, the correct answer to that is Mama Fortuna. So what the hell are you talking about? So again, is this a different universe? We don't know. Are you just messing with the reader? Is this a bait and switch? Or do you just not give a damn about continuity? I mean, this is lazy. This is just lazy storytelling. So again, that's the overall problem with basic plot points. Another point is again, in the second contemporary scenario, we have some manner of clandestine arrangement between the Joker and Selina Kyle, and we don't know what it is. It's like, guys, we just had the Joker Wars, which was introduced through the pseudo story arc with the designer, in which it is revealed that Selina Kyle had a clandestine deal with Joker and Riddler. And come on, this just happened. We just had 3 Jokers. Last year we had the Joker movie. Come on, enough with the Joker. Now I get it. With with Andrea Beaumont, it is intertwined, but there's a way to do it. The clandestine meeting with Selina, with Catwoman and the Joker just happened. Don't do it again. Just enough already. Now again, with plot points, that's basic structure there. Now let's get into character problems. I had mixed feelings about the introduction of Andrea Beaumont, because I love the character. I love what the character represents. She was the fulcrum upon which Bruce's life depended. If he stays with her, he's not Batman. If they separate, he's Batman. That's big. That's gigantic. That is the degree, the measure of the love and affection that they had for her. Do you see that here? I mean, I sure don't. She's barely used in the comics. She's used as a plot device, not as a proper character. And they don't get her character. Let's talk about how they use Andrea here. So Andrea Beaumont, an old friend I hadn't seen for something. An old friend? Excuse you, an old friend? Well, let's talk about this. She knows who Andrea was. This is the woman who your first love. your first love. No, Andrea Beaumont was not his first love. Andrea Beaumont was the love of his life. Those are two fundamentally different things. They say you never forget your first love. That's fine. You learn valuable lessons with your first love. But you get over your first love. You mature. You grow into adulthood, mentally, emotionally, sexually. You grow up, and then you fall in love again. But you never forget your first love. Sure, that's fine. The love of your life, that's a scar. That stays with you. If you meet the love of your life and you lose it, that's a deep cut. You don't just get over that. Now, you can heal from it. You can move on with your life if you have enough emotional and mental fortitude. But nothing ever compares. This is not the Andrea Beaumont that we know. So it's a complete waste of an excellent character, and it goes on more than that. They really don't do her justice. So here, where has she been? The Joker survived, so did she apparently. She's been in hiding for years, afraid of the Joker. Excuse you? Did you watch the movie? At the end of Mask of the Phantasm, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Mask of the Phantasm, go now. But Joker's on his knees in front of her, about to die. Joker's at her mercy. She kicks his ass until he uses his advantage of home turf to beat her using a lot of big machines. So she can handle her own. She doesn't need to hide. She went after him to kill him. And now all of a sudden she's afraid? Since what? Since when? No. No. That does not jive well. I originally had questions about her even coming to Bruce for help. So the plot is that she found her son is 14 years old, has gone missing. Okay, I'm a little curious about the timeline there, but we'll let it go. Timeline in comic books is, it's a blur. That's fine. That's okay. Yeah. But why would she go to Bruce for help instead of looking for him herself? She herself is a masked vigilante. She is both capable and resourceful. This is shown in Mask of the Phantasm. She's not weak. She's not timid. She's not afraid. She can handle herself. Now, to be fair, it's probably not the worst tactic in the world to go to the world's greatest detective to help find your son, but at the same time, there's nothing in the book that indicates that she herself was doing anything. Like, here's one of her appearances. Here's another of her appearances where she's just crying over her son, which is revealed to be there. And then we have the last page. Again, just passive, just sitting there. Just sitting there. Just sitting there. This is not Andrea Beaumont. You fundamentally don't understand anything about the character of Andrea Beaumont. She is the love of Bruce's life, and he hers. She is capable and resourceful and tough. And you turned her into a set piece. No. So that's the problem with Andrea. Now the problem with Bruce Wayne. Again, same thing. Is this the body language of someone you fell in love with? This the woman who you almost didn't become Batman for? No, I'm not getting that. Okay. Well, let's go here. This is the one that really caught my eye about how they mishandled Batman. So this is a different timeline. This is contemporary number 1. Here we have contemporary number 2. Batman macking out with his girlfriend. Sure, fine, that happens. He has to go. Why? The Joker brought out of, hell with it. I'll go, mac out some more. Excuse you? I say, okay, no, we have to go. I really have to. No, we'll just back out some more. You're telling me that the Batman doesn't have enough discipline to stop making out with his girlfriend, to stop one of the most horrible homicidal maniacs in his rogues gallery, like the quintessential Batman villain. He doesn't have enough discipline to not make out. No. No. You don't understand Batman. That's not a thing. Now again, let's try and look at this. I'm not gonna say fairly, but sympathetically. Joker just broke out. He hasn't made any threats. He hasn't revealed any of his plans. There's time before. Okay, sure. There's no pressing threat or clue. Okay, sure. The beginning of the Joker story or this particular Joker arc. Okay, sure. There's time. It's still weak, but it's doable. All right. So here's the problem. In contemporary scene number 1, he brings in Catwoman to help look for Andrea's kid because he doesn't know. Let's look at here. Kid lost in the city, no resources, no one to help him. I thought you might know where to start looking because Batman, who has been Batman for all these years, doesn't know the many different places where a lost kid with no help and no resources would go. He needs help thinking up places. He can't think of something. And so she takes him to the Sewer King, allegedly where she was trained in this weird multiverse scenario, where she does all the talking. Hey, Sewer King, here I am, Catwoman. I'm going to help you. I'm going to try and force you to give me some information for someone that I have absolutely no emotional attachment to. Okay. Batman does nothing but fight crocodiles a little bit. Alrighty, well, okay, let's go a little bit further. And here we have, again, contemporary scene number 1. Catwoman has gotten some information from a very bloody Sewer King, told us to find this rat, and she interrogates a young guy. And here's Batman just chilling out. Just letting Catwoman take point in finding the son of the love of his life. Sure, yeah, let Catwoman do everything. Let Catwoman do literally everything. What? This is not Batman. This is not Batman. You're telling me Batman needs to give point completely to Catwoman for a missing persons case? A missing persons case? What? No. And then again, you have a scene here. So here we find the kid. He's dead. He's got a Joker smile. Oh, that sucks. And then immediately go to this. I installed all the security. Do you know how many alarms should be going off? All of them. And then immediately to the future. What the point? What is the point of this? This is unnecessary. It's clunky. It has no flow. It's just confusing. So it's a very poorly constructed plot. It's a very poor understanding of the characters, and ultimately this is essentially a Catwoman book. Catwoman is entirely in the future. So in the future, Batman's dead, and she's visiting someone who knew who he was. It is revealed to be the Joker. Oh, hey, here's the Joker who does stuff. This is a Catwoman book. Catwoman's doing everything. I thought this was supposed to be a book about the relationship between Batman and Catwoman. If we wanted just another adventure Bat book or Catwoman book, I'm sorry, we just don't need that. We have Batman. Jim Stinion is doing a much better job. We have Detective Comics. It's doing that. You don't need just another one. This is a comic about their relationship, so it fails. It's confusing. It's a very poor representation of the characters, so I will not be picking up issue number 2. Now, I don't want my reviews to simply be poo-pooing on a badly written comic and just bashing it. So let's see if we can be a little bit more proactive here. How can we take this story and make it work? So I mean, I don't expect DC to do any changes, obviously, but for other creatives, other comic book people who may see this and may want to get started, may want to work on their own stuff, let's see if we can learn from the failures of this. So what's the first thing that we can do to fix this comic? Well, first and foremost, the future, axe it. We don't need it. If for nothing else, it does break the flow, but also it gives the game away. She says that Batman is dead. Here she says, oh, you know so well, Batman's gone, he can't stop me. For what you did for Andrea, I finally get to kill you, and it's revealed to be the Joker. So for Andrea, so Batman is presumably failed, Andrea is presumably failed. Okay, now the rest of this is meaningless. Okay, we know how the story ends. Great, well done. So axe it. We don't need the future scenarios in any way, shape, or form. Maybe in like the last issue, just do an old Selena issue. Sure, I guess that's fine. But to include the ending in the beginning, no, you gave the game away, and I'm sorry. The journey can only be so interesting when you know exactly how it ends. No. So axe it. Make it one continuity. This whole transitioning from the gray suit to the black suit for Catwoman, it makes no sense. It's just confusing. It just is unnecessary. Now, the clandestine meeting with the Joker could work. The thing is that you have to sit on it. You have to delay, because otherwise, sure, we get Joker fatigue, but at the same time, it's still just confusing. It makes no sense as to where or when or even in what dimension it fits. These are puzzle pieces. You're jamming them together, and they simply don't fit. So the way you make this interesting, we keep Andrea Beaumont. That way we can keep a reasonable reason to include the Joker into this plot. She comes to Bruce asking for help finding his son. Okay, how does Bruce feel seeing her again? How does he feel about the fact that she has a 14-year-old kid? What does that mean? When did she get pregnant? With whom? Who's the father? Flesh all of that out. How does she feel about seeing him again? How does she feel about the fact that how she's making him feel about the fact that she has a kid? Flesh that out. How does Catwoman feel about Andrea being back in the picture in any shape or form? Is she indifferent? Okay, that's a weak choice. Is she jealous? Okay, she's typically not the jealous type, but making her jealous would kind of be not necessarily out of character, but an interesting twist that they have to work through. It is something in which their relationship has to, it's a hurdle that their relationship has to overcome. Flesh that out. And also just the search for her son in and of itself could be interesting. Don't do the Sewer King, that's stupid, it's lazy. But the search for her son and the dynamics of this kind of triangle of muddied up feelings, you get at least 3 issues of that. And now here, at the end, when they finally figure it out, instead of this being the reveal that the old man is the Joker, which we kind of already knew all along, this is the reveal. Andrea's boy is killed by the man who killed her father. Now we can get, after several issues of a decent detective work, in which Catwoman and Batman work together, as opposed to Batman just stepping aside and letting Catwoman take point for no reason. That's an interesting story. That's an interesting detective work. Here's the reveal. Now Joker's involved, and now we bring back the clandestine deal between Catwoman and Joker. what are they talking about? What does it have to do with the story? You can now weave in the past and the future into the story, and that can take over for a few different issues. And then also, that might be when Phantasm comes back, furthering the not only the plot but the stakes. But as it is right now, again, it's just a failure. So enough with. So again, to summarize how we fix this: get rid of the two different timelines, or the three, excuse me, the two contemporaries and the future. Just get rid of that. Tell a simple story. Spend some time dealing with the actual relationship of the two title characters instead of just kind of, pretending like this isn't just a Catwoman book. Flesh out the relationship between the powerhouse of a character that Andrea Beaumont should have been, how that affects their relationship, and the interesting idea of an actual detective story finding her son, revealing him to have been murdered by the Joker, and then now we have an actual reason to have the Joker in this story. So, alrighty, so that's my take on Batman Catwoman #1, why it fails, and how it could be fixed. So go ahead, like if you found any kind of value in this, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Alrighty, guys. Until next time, farewell.